Hey, y'all, listen, I can't believe it's Thursday, but it's Thursday night trending topics, and we got stuff to talk about. If you're in the building, don't forget, hit the like button. Don't cheat the diva, okay? All I ask you to do is hit that like button. Listen, tonight's title is real simple, it's real clean. It's called Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yes, people. Unbelievable. Listen, it's closing arguments in the Diddy trial. The day has come, okay? That judge told us ahead of time that they was going to shut this thing down before the 4th of July holiday, and he meant it. Because we are in closing arguments. Now, I told y'all before, and I still feel like this to this day. I personally feel like what was I gonna say? I personally feel like the defense not putting up no fight for Diddy was risky, and they should have had somebody come through to say, I love Diddy, something, but they had no one. And right after the prosecution finished, they closed that thing out because they felt like they had a slam dunk. But then the prosecution one-upped them. And the one-up them was they came through. Thanks, Sasuke. I see my mod out there. Much love. Appreciate you. I see you, Flip. Thank y'all for being here. Hey, Katrina. I see y'all coming through. Thank y'all. So, they one-up them because the jury always has to get instructions. Like, okay, the case is done now. You want us to deliberate. You doing closing arguments. You got to tell us, what does this mean? What's the definition of this? What's the definition of that? And they came through with the flim-flam. The prosecution is saying, all we need is for one of those freak-offs, for somebody to have been forced. And they said, then you got to find him guilty. So, the prosecution, they know they did a piss poor job. So now what they're doing is, in their closing arguments, they're trying to pull stuff together out the air and say, listen, because of this, that means that. That means you got to say yes to sex trafficking. It's interesting. It's a lot. But we got to talk about it. All I can say is, you know what, Diddy, you got yourself in this situation. You did the most. Do I feel that, everything they trying to do to you is right? I do not. But, when you put your life in somebody else's hands, you never know what you're going to get. So I tell everybody, to the best of your ability, don't find yourself on the wrong side of the law. Don't. You don't know how the jury going to be feeling that day. There's been people that I thought should have went to jail. They got off. There's been people that I thought should have got off and they went to jail. It's going to be interesting how this thing goes down, but we're going to talk about it. Then I said, how old are fifth graders? This has got to be one of the sickest stories I heard. And we get a lot of doozies over here with these stories. A bunch of fifth grade girls. I hope y'all heard me. A bunch of fifth grade girls plot to take the life of their fellow student, a fifth grade boy, because one of the girls in the group was mad that they broke up. First of all, what are you doing with a boyfriend in the fifth grade? a boyfriend in the 5th grade. You said they 10 at that age, Katrina? What 10-year-old? Why do you have a boyfriend at 10? Listen, say what you want about me. I wish my 10-year-old would come through the door talking about I got a boyfriend. Not in my house, you don't. And I don't care who talks about me. At 10, you got a boyfriend? And that's how you end up in situations like this. And they had a whole plot together. One of the girls was going to be the lookout. The other girl was going to stab him in the stomach. And the other girl was going to forge the S letter. And they even planned to wear gloves so that their fingerprints was not be on it. What kind of sick 10-year-olds is that? That's some psychotic stuff. But that's what was going down. We'll talk about it. Then we have, that's why I said the title is called Unbelievable. Now, you know, I'm not a sports girl. I'm not really into the sports like that. That ain't my thing. But I wear a watch. Somebody invite me, I'll go. But it's not on the top of my list of things to do. But this baseball player, his name is Franco. He was accused of messing with a minor. He was 21 at the time. The minor was 14. He paid off the mama. He went to trial in the Dominican Republic. And 3 judges, they found him guilty, but he got no time. Or he got probation or something like that. He didn't have to physically go to jail. And I said, oh, ain't this interesting? And they labeled it as trafficking. Yes, they did. They labeled it as trafficking. The definition of that trafficking is very broad. And guess what? He don't have to spend no time behind bars, but her mother does. Why? Because he bribed and paid off the mother. She accepted the bribes. And now he's walking free. Is she doing 10 years? You got to explain to me where they do that at. She doing 10 years, the mother, and don't get it twisted. The mother is wrong. But she's doing 10 years, and he's free, and they're talking about, we wonder if he's going to get a visa so he could go back and play ball in the States. Well, they did put mama in jail. Mama doing 10 years, but he's doing 0. So listen, I gotta say this respectfully. They need to go back and get Aaliyah's mom. They need to go back and get some of these parents who were subjected, their kids were subjected to R. Kelly. Years, but he walks free with no jail time. He got probation. And they tapped him on the hand and said, don't touch any more minors. 3 judges. Not 1, not 2, but 3 judges let this man go free. And for real, was a minor. And then you got Diddy over there in New York, in the courthouse, who was playing with adults, who knew how to say no, and they want him to go to jail for life. But you got this baseball player that clearly was with a 14-year-old, clearly paid off her mother, and they tapped him on the hand and said, don't do that no more. This world is crazy. It's insane. It's unbelievable. Crazy. Told him don't do that no more. Listen, people, y'all know what time it is. What do I need in the chat? I need a choo-choo. All aboard, everybody. It is Thursday night trending topics, and we got stuff to talk about. The title is simple. It's called Unbelievable. They calling Diddy in the closing arguments. They say he's a crime boss. And they said that all of his upper management people should have known or did know what he was doing. Now, Christina Quorum, she was getting paid $600,000 a year. He said Christina gets stuff done. Christina was his right-hand person. Now, it's interesting how the prosecution want to put her name all up in the closing arguments, but why didn't y'all indict her? Because if it's a criminal enterprise, surely we need some other people that help them, right? And don't give me this nonsense that you're going to indict them later. No, the time has come and the time has passed. But they call him a crime boss. And they're charging the jury. They said if you think that at least on one of these freak offs, and there was multiple, that someone was coerced, they said you need to find him guilty. That defense got what a battle. Down their closing statements better rock this world. I don't know what's going to happen to Diddy. But let me bring the people on in the building. We got room on the platform if you want to come up. Hey, Julius, it's you and me tonight. You ready?
Hey, y'all. It's a like button. You know, I know my other mods are holding me down since I'm the lone panelist tonight. Yes, Diva, let's get it cracking like it.
Let's get it cracking. I'm going to go ahead and start with this Diddy situation so we can go ahead and talk about this and get this on out the way. So let me see. Here we go. All right. Look like Lady Love coming in the building. All right. Right. Let's talk about this. So let me go back up here. Sean Diddy Combs used fame, wealth, and power to create a twisted criminal kingdom, feds charged at the close of the bombshell trial. So Sean Diddy Combs is a crime boss who abused his status as a powerful hip-hop mogul to force ex-lovers into humiliating, drug-filled sexual escapades. The feds charged at the close of a bombshell Manhattan trial on Thursday. Federal prosecutors painted the disgraced Bad Boys founder as a terrifying tycoon who used his fame and fortune and his circle of trusted employees to cover up his alleged monstrous acts for decades. Hold on one second, y'all. Okay, Wayne, I'm trying to enter you in the building there. Hope you got in. Okay, hold on one second, y'all. Let me try this again. All right. He thought that his fame, wealth, and power put him above the law. But over the course of this trial, his crimes have been exposed. Assistant U.S. Attorney Christy Slavic told jurors in closing statements. He had his head down. The feds spent more than 4 hours painstakingly detailing evidence of Combs' alleged slew of crimes, urging the jury to convict him of trafficking and racketeering charges that could land him in jail for life. Slavic described for jurors how Combs allegedly handed a security guard $100,000 in a brown paper bag in a failed bid to cover up the infamous footage of him brutally assaulting ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura in a Los Angeles hotel. Combs also plotted to set rapper Kid Cudi's Porsche on fire in a jealous rage, prosecutors said. And he trafficked Ventura and another ex-lover who testified using the alias James by forcing them into freak-off sessions with male escorts after beating them and threatening to release explicit tapes of them, Slavic said. The defendant used power, violence, and fear to get what he wanted, she said. Dozens of witnesses agreed. He doesn't take no for an answer. The jailed I'll Be Missing You rapper trusted in the circle, including his loyal lieutenant, Chief of Staff Christina Coram, allegedly aided and abetted his schemes, while his security guards were aimed and armed and ready at his side for some of Combs' most violent acts. It's his kingdom. Everyone is there to serve him, Slavic said. Combs, who has been held without bail at a Brooklyn lockup since his September 2024 arrest, didn't betray much emotion as he sat at the defense table during the closing argument, dressed in baby blue sweater. He pushed his chair a few feet away from the table and occasionally shot a look over at the jury of 8 men and 4 women that will decide his fate. But Combs slumped his shoulders and stared down at his hands with his head bowed when the prosecutor mentioned Victoria's emotional trial testimony that he argued her in 2018 after their breakup. The R&B singer was among more than 30 witnesses who testified against Combs over the course of the 7-week trial. To convict on the racketeering rap, jurors will need to find that Combs was the kingpin of a crew that plotted at least 2 alleged crimes. They have several choices: the car arson, trafficking of Ventura and Jane, and the alleged bribe to the security guard. Prosecutors said Combs should be found guilty on each of the 2 trafficking counts, which carry a minimum 15-year prison sentence, even if only one of the countless sex sessions described by Ventura and Jane were coerced. The March 2016 hotel episode caught on camera where Combs was seen shoving, kicking, and trying to drag Ventura back to their room after she tried to leave a freak off early was just one example of a forced or coerced trafficking incident, Savick said. This is what happened when Cassie said no, she told jurors, while playing the sickening footage again. Ventura and Jane also both testified that Combs threatened to release tapes of the degrading sex sessions if they did not comply with his demands. He held those sex tapes over their head as collateral, Slavic said, speaking about Ventura. The freak-off themselves became a way to coerce her into doing freak-offs. The embattled entrepreneur has pleaded not guilty, maintains that the freak-off encounters were consensual. His 3 18-year-old daughters, who had not been seen at the trial for weeks, returned Thursday and sat sitting in the third row of the gallery behind him, alongside Combs' mother and other supporters. Combs' defense attorneys are set to deliver their own closing statements Friday. I read several articles on this. As I stated, Christina was getting paid $600,000 a year. They also said in another article that the prosecution is saying that D-Rock was another co-conspirator, and so was Uncle Paulie. Child, did they mention that, Kylie? Come on now. Did they mention she continued to sleep with him and named her kid after him after this alleged R? I'm trying to tell you, they said one of the kids' name is Frankie. You can't make this stuff up. Julius, your thoughts?
Lord have mercy, Lord. Okay, y'all. So the big offer happened, right? The big offer. But she still went back and named her kid after. I'm not connecting with the correlation. So and it makes me and you know I don't like to do this, but were you really SA'd if you were gonna name your kid after your assailant? It sounds like a relationship to me. It's just a hot mess. So now we hearing about DJ D-Rock and Uncle Paulie. Oh, that's a new one. Yeah, it's another day in the circus. That's it.
Katrina, your thoughts?
Making me wonder, is that Diddy child? But anyway, hey Diva, hey panel, hey chat. Sorry about last night, y'all. Um, I'm with you, Diva. I think I would have at least, maybe it was too much for them, but I would have put like my daughters on the stand, let them saying something like, "My daddy was a good father. He never did these things in front of me," or something like that. Maybe that would help this case or whatsoever. But we don't know what. Like I said, the kids all seem happy, even though he was doing nefarious things around them. But I don't guess the girls seen it, which I hope they didn't. Um, but if they find out, like they listened to Cassie and she said that this happened, he made her go back in and do this stuff like that, and then he got the tapes and stuff over her head. I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, the last picture that you showed was Diddy standing up there smiling. Maybe because the pardon gonna kick in when as soon as he gets behind the doors. And it's just ironic that as you was talking about this case and Elvis Presley was in one of those ads. Ask Lisa Presley, what's her name? Whatever his wife was named. Wasn't she 15 or 14 or something like that when he married her? It was just ironic. I seen his picture when you was scrolling up. So
Elvis Presley.
yeah. No, I know. I'm talking about the man. I'm talking about the lady name. Was it Priscilla? Priscilla Presley.
Priscilla. Yes.
Yeah.
She was
He got with her
14.
when she was 14, 15. It was just ironic when you was talking. His picture came up on there. But we'll see how it go with Diddy. I mean, like you said, some cases we think they're gonna go this way, then they go another way. We never know until that final reading come from the judge or from the jury, because we can say that he's going to be in jail, but we can't prove that he's going to be in jail. So like we said, it's not what you know, what you can prove. And if they feel like they proved that case, then he's gone. They feel like he didn't, then he's out. So we just have to see. But that's all I got, Diva.
Thank you. Felicia, your thoughts?
Good evening, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well. It cooled down here in New York City, so amen to that. Shame on Mr. Combs. Shame on his life. Of all the horrific things that I know he's done, this is BS. And they love to get you on the BS.
Mm.
This is so embarrassing. This is so demeaning. Yet it was his private business. And they decided to expose the world to this ugly, dark side of what people call love and love making and engaging with other human beings. Everyone involved in this, in my opinion, is immoral and very dark. And you have 6 prosecutors, 6 women who thought that putting together a string of lies was enough for everyone to believe that this monster should be locked up for 30 years because he had a bad series of relationships. He was a pimp on the streets of Harlem and Miami and LA and wherever else. And it was all fun and games until he no longer wanted to pay the prostitutes. I am disgusted. Katrina said a long time ago, and it's a fact, because I ain't in my feelings, it's a fact. If Miss Ventura had gotten her money up front, we would not be hearing all this stuff today. She wasn't coming forward to say she was ex-trafficked, prostituted, assaulted, beaten up, and beaten down. Some of you know I listened to this testimony, read it in and out for 20 days. Yes, I reached my cup are full. We full. But I recall that whatever Ms. Slavic put together today was not a fair representation of what was expressed, told under alleged oath, was supposed to be honest truth, by 5 mini criminals who were given immunity for their bad behavior. Now, Miss Ventura came up and said she did XYZ. It was against her will. But I also remember the other testimonies. She had, was her copies of these videos that were given. They found them on her phone. They found
That's
them
fact.
on her laptop.
That's fact.
When they went to Mr. Holmes' house, they didn't find them.
Right.
They didn't get them off the street. Diva didn't buy it. And they said, Diva, you need to give us a copy of that video.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why am I bringing that up? Because I remember during the horrific case of R. Kelly with a minor, and I will remind everyone, they have closed today, and we did not hear of a minor, any minors, a 9-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 16-year-old, a 17-and-a-half-year-old. We did not.
Mm-hmm.
But I recall in that R. Kelly case, there were people who bought that VHS copy off the streets.
Come on, you better talk.
Of that tape.
Mm-hmm.
But this we didn't have. Yet they wanted to go into the courtroom and expose all of us to this behavior.
Mm-hmm.
If it not were for Mr. Wigdor, Miss Ventura's attorney, they would have put it out there for all of us to see and hear. And so my take is prosecution don't give a damn about nobody. What they care about is the win, not the truth, not what happened, not justice. No, they want the win. And they had Miss Slavic go up there today. I only could take her for about an hour. And she was filling in the gaps with lies and innuendo. She used words to infer things that I did not hear in testimony. Now, as I shared with Diva earlier, I've had an opportunity to re-listen, rehear, discuss on this panel, flesh it out. I'm thinking about these 17 people who, if they have honored their commitment, have not been reading, have not been discussing, have not been trying to flesh it out. And we are now asking them to spend a lot of time going through all of these details to see what is factual and what is not. I remind everyone that the judge said, yes, Miss Bonner perjured herself, but she was doing the dope and stuff. She was doing the substances, so she don't remember. It's okay. We'll just mark it as, a little asterisk that there was some perjury here. How do you send someone away to jail for 30 years, 40 years, and people have openly lied? If they had gone after the crimes that we know, and I mean me, that I know he has done, that he has been involved in, that he has gotten away with thus far, I would have said, yeah, keep running the tape. That's battery. Yeah. They said, no, we can't go after him, that the statute of limitations are over. Why did you play it over 25 times? I promise you, if I go outside tonight, I'll see somebody get down on the street. You could dial 911. Maybe the police will come. They'll ask, do you want to charge? Do you want to charge? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? My sister told me that her neighbor upstairs gets beaten brutally every week. And they have called the police. Other neighbors called the police. She is hidden in other people's homes. And that man still lived there with her. He hasn't been cleaned up. He hasn't been charged. Nothing. So what makes this one so special? And this is where we get into wealth and prominence and race and gender. It's going to be interesting to see what the defense does tomorrow. they have a lot that they have to cover in terms of a lot of what Ms. Slovic said today, because I am about the truth, the whole truth. Yes, when Diva was reading the article, they talked about, well, he essayed Miss Ventura. Miss Ventura admitted that she went back to see him twice voluntarily with full consent. Oh, she has this mental illness, that mental illness. She can't remember this, she can't remember that. But she remembered to get paid. And she got compensated for the injustices done to her. That's what she was looking for, an economic justice. And she got it. The prosecution now wants her and Banner and Deontay and Capricorn all to get more. They want them to be the recipient of his work. As I was sharing with some of the folks backstage the other day, it took a long time for it to come to the forefront. But I asked, did they ever go and raid the corporate offices of Bad Boy Entertainment? If this is Rico and we're getting information, did they go into that office and retrieve laptops and hard drives and phones? But I'm hearing about some Uncle Paulie, how kind they are to some big fat guy allegedly out in Central Park. He ain't got no first name, no last name. No, he Uncle Paulie. That's supposed to be good enough. Are we looking for street justice, or we're looking for what we expect from criminal justice? So this is a toss-up as far as I'm concerned. This is going to depend on the thinking and the stamina and the patience of these jurors. I feel bad for them, but God have mercy that they're able to get through and get to the truth. I'm done.
Woo! Thank you. You know, the truth ain't in them. And it hasn't been in them since the day they pulled down this indictment. Throughout this whole 7-8 week trial, the truth is not in them. And it's going to be interesting to see what this jury comes up with, because we know that juror number 7 at the very least was running his mouth. So if he told somebody, he or she told somebody that they was on the Diddy trial, surely they've been in the social media Googling and looking at stuff. This thing has been a circus. And so we got that one who's probably been Googling, and friends been telling him, well, I think he guilty because this is what I heard on the street. You can't tell me that juror number 7 wasn't talking, because you got a text on your phone asking, are you juror number 6? And the judge left him. And as Felicia stated, they showed us piles and piles and piles. I'm saying us, but y'all know what I mean. All the little snippets of the freak offs, but not one freak off. And that prosecution better say this thing tomorrow. Not one freak off did you see anybody say, I want to go. Not one freak off did they show that the substances was being shoved down their throat. And if you said he was running a criminal enterprise and you know for a fact that his flunkies was helping him out, why did you not charge not near one of them? When the indictments was being given out, Diddy should have been the only one that got one. It should have been the flunkies too. Yeah, and I saw TMZ posted there's new lawsuits. The floodgates are open. They figure, because remember, none of the civil suits can even see its day in court until this criminal case is over. So they figuring they got like 4 days and this criminal case is going to be over. So they might as well go ahead and get their civil suits in. So I'm not shocked to see that more coming through. But see, you know, to me too, with these civil suits, they need to add some law to it. If you suing somebody and it's a criminal activity that's involved in that suit, you're going to need to go down to the police station and make a police report. Even if the statute of limitations are up, I'm going to need you to go down to the police station and make a police report, because let's see if you lie on a piece of paper for you at the police station. Because this nonsense has got to stop. Wayne, your thoughts?
I think the prosecution is desperate. I think they're desperate because, one, when he was telling the jurors about, if this is true, this is true, this is true, you must. But he also know it's some jurors on there that already have their mind made up. He showed that tape 25 times to use as like a ace in the hole. That maybe for that one juror that was on not guilty, and thinks back at that tape, the video, and just say, you know what, guilty. It sounds petty, but I think they had to pull together a case. Like I said yesterday, this big hoopla, raiding the houses, raiding all this, all that, whatever. And the first thing they show on TV is baby oil and Astroglide. I mean, for a raid by Homeland Security, weapons that could take you out, aimed at kids' head, all of that. And this is all they had to show for it. So I think they had to pull a case together that wasn't a case, to make it a case. You could almost tell by the people they had. As you said, they lied. They lied. So the prosecution is just hoping that they can get to those one or two juries, because all it takes is one to, mistrial or hung jury, whatever. And I say that as, if I think like this, somebody else might be thinking like this, like, no, you're not going to make me change my mind. I don't care what you say. If this is correct, blah, 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 putting this pressures on the jury. I think somebody there's like, not guilty. And those are the ones he's trying to get to, because at this point, that's what matters, what the jury say. I'm done.
Whew, well, we're gonna see how this thing rolls out. And Special K, let me tell you what that whole dropping the charges thing were. The prosecution is playing all kinds of games. It's going to be interesting to see what how the defense is going to come at this. So they're saying he was never charged with the arson, he was never charged with the kidnapping, and he was never charged with the bribery. They brought that information in because it helps with the RICO charges. So that's why they're now trying to connect the dots. But I don't understand how they still talking about this arson when they did not prove that Diddy was the one that burnt up this man's car. Now you got several people that for sure, the people that was actually involved with the 100K payoff, they were on the stand and said, yeah, I got paid off. This how I used the money, whatever the case may be. That right there will give it. It's a slam dunk. But this arson, how is that a slam dunk when even the police said like we didn't prove who did that? And this kidnapping, I don't know. I think they didn't even mention that in their closing arguments. But you know what though? We're going to see how this thing pans out. It's messy, boobs. It's messy. Go ahead, Felicia.
Yeah, and I think the other incredibly important piece was Ms. Slavic says distribution of narcotics does not require a sale.
That's crazy.
So if you got a headache And I say, well, I got some pills that, usually knock the headache out for me. And they're, what are those killed? The ones that get the sticker on the bottle that's a narcotic, not to be, used without permission by a physician or whatever. And I give you two, and you didn't pay for them or nothing. That they could charge me with distribution of, Uggs, not for personal use. This is what she said today. That distribution of narcotics does not require a sale. So you can't be giving your friends and family no more dope. I'm telling you right now. Can't be sharing the pills. Can't be sharing the weed. Don't do it.
Katrina, you want to say something before I move forward? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go into this next story. This is going to be interesting.
Yes, Diva, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I was going on with what Felicia said. That's true. Because if you go to a party and say, for instance, you have like, Diva don't like us mention drugs names, but you have one of these pills and you give it to a person. If that person died from an overdose, you're responsible for that person unaliving. So that's true.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move forward into this next story with these fifth graders. I couldn't even believe it. Let's take a listen. Where are they at? Where are these fifth graders at?
In prison. Well, a murder plot planned by fifth grade girls was spoiled after a classmate overheard their plans.
New records revealing the girls wanted to kill another student at a West Valley school. 12 News journalist Gabriela Becerra live now in Surprise. What is going on here? Fifth grade girls?
Troy, this is a wild case, but police records reveal these girls were planning their classmates' murder over recess. The motive was a broken heart. One of the girls reportedly had just ended a relationship with the boy they were targeting. Now, according to that newly obtained police report, last October, 4 girls were planning to lure the boy into an outside bathroom at Legacy Traditional School in West Surprise and stab him in the stomach. Each of the girls had a role in the plan, which included wearing gloves to hide fingerprints, forging a suicide note, and having lookouts. Another student overheard the conversation and told her parent and a school resource officer. The Maricopa County Attorney's Office tells me today that they received those misdemeanor charges last year, but the cases have since been adjudicated. I also spoke with a child psychiatrist who tells me this time in a child's life can be difficult as they're susceptible to challenges of peer pressure, but they still don't fully know right from wrong.
Psychologically, you also have the influence of things like social media, society. Kids are being exposed to a lot more potentially violent or negative or adult content at a much younger age.
Dr. Mark Anderson encourages parents to keep tabs on what their child is watching and doing online, as social media and violent video games or movies can also make an impression on a young mind. Legacy Traditional Schools tells me in a statement that the safety and well-being of their students is of top priority, and they acted immediately and appropriately with the help of law enforcement on this case. We're live in Surprise. Gabriela Becerra, 12 News.
That is so shocking. Fifth grade, that's about 11 years old. It's so young to be doing something like this. All right, Gabriela, thank you.
Unbelievable. Hold on one second. Inside the alleged research plot by fifth graders to unalive the classmate, then stage it as a S, just end him. 4 Arizona fifth grade girls allegedly planned to lure a classmate into a bathroom, stab him, then leave him with a forged S note at recess, police said. Four Arizona fifth graders allegedly plotted to stab a classmate during research, then stage his death as a S. A newly released police report claims the girls ages 10 and 11 were students at Legacy Traditional School in Surprise, Arizona, when they allegedly hatched a plan to unalive their classmate at recess on October 1st, 2024, according to the report obtained by AZ Family 12 News. They allegedly agreed to just end him over cheating allegations following a breakup, per the report. Each child allegedly had a role to play in the plot. One would bring a knife to school, one would act as a lookout, and another girl would stab the victim in the stomach in an outdoor bathroom on campus, the report alleges. A fourth girl would forge the note. The young suspects even planned to wear gloves to avoid leaving fingerprints on their weapons, according to the report. But keen-eared classmates overheard the alleged scheme and warned school officials, per the report. The next day, the girls' backpacks were searched. They were questioned and individually with their parents present, and their plot unraveled, the report alleges. The girls showed remorse, according to the report, but the fourth would allegedly smile and laugh while making excuses for their actions. All four were arrested on charges of threatening and misdemeanor disorderly conduct. They were released into their parents' custody and suspended from school pending expulsion, per the report. School officials did not immediately return people's requests for a comment. Listen, they all sick, but the one that was laughing and thought it was a joke, she dangerous. For real, for real. Julius, your thoughts?
What in the demonic Lucille is going on up in here? Now they used to get on, they say they get on the parents for giving child spankings, right? But it's okay for your child to go out and plan to let me say the catchword here. Unalive another child. Child. And I'm assuming the ages are under 12. But yet, no, just tell them no. Just take away the electronics. It's fine. No. Why weren't these parents parenting these children? Why weren't these children like knowing how to do all of these things? I am appalled. Over cheating? Look here. All y'all is doing is just playing around in the sandbox or in the little slide areas and everything else. That's all y'all. That ain't no relationship, baby. And Diva, I'm connecting with you. That little demon who was laughing, thinking it wasn't a joke. She a demon. But I'm gonna be honest with you. They all demons. Every single one of them. I don't care if the other three showed remorse. They demons. Cause you shouldn't be plotting to unalive anybody anyway. And the parents should be ashamed of themselves. And I hope they get expelled from that school. And I hope it goes on their record too.
They need therapy and help. Katrina, your thoughts?
They definitely need therapy and help, and it won't go on their record because they're minors. The thing of it is, I've seen the movie The Bad Seed. Some kids are just born that way, as that's what the movie. Because look how this girl was doing. She was going out there unaliving everybody that got in her way when she wanted something, and then you finna unalive somebody over puppy love. But these 10 years old are not like the 10-year-old that we were. These kids are more advanced. They come in the world knowing things that they shouldn't know. They own the internet, and then to plot to say that that boy was going to commit S. So, like, what kind of mind is what things that y'all seeing, what y'all watching these tablets, these computers, these things, and these kids sit up there and watch this stuff because for them to sit down and plot something like that out at 10 years old, it's just crazy. It's crazy. 10 years old, I worry about my bicycle, or I was a tomboy running track or doing something. I don't get it. But these kids now are not the 10-year-old that we were when we were 10-year-old. You see them with the weave down to the middle of their back. They wearing fake eyelashes. These kids are not the kids that we were. And for your daughter to have a boyfriend at 10 years old, yeah, you can have like little classmate friends or whatsoever, or you they call them so-called boyfriends or whatsoever. But no, ma'am, it wasn't gonna be nothing serious. And then from you saying that he broke up with her, and this is what you finna go do. So imagine when you get old, when she get older, and if her boyfriend or husband leave her, what would she do then? What would she do then? These kids need therapy. They need to be doing activities, as Felicia would say, keep their minds busy, keep their hands out from being idle, and keep their minds on track. Because, like I said, these videos, these influencers, these uh, cable networks, this stuff, I mean, this is crazy. This is totally, totally crazy. And 10 years old, girl, this is insane. And like I said, when this child, when she do get over, I want to know how she's gonna monitor through life or guide herself through life. Because if you planning on this at 10, what would you gonna do with your boyfriend when you turn 15, 16, 17, 18, or whatsoever? I feel sorry for whoever she get with, because if he break her heart, he gonna have something to deal with. But that's all I got.
Felicia, your thoughts?
All right. So, first off, I think probably so many things I think here, but I think these young people are very bright. They're very smart, strategic thinkers. So they came together and they came up with a plot. And they gave each other a role that they were going to play in this plot, so that they could not reveal what was going to be done. That to me is high level thinking. I don't know where they plotted at. I don't know what this boy did, but I'll say this. Sounds like there was some kind of physical exchanges here. That's what I'm picking up. I'm not thinking about this no broken heart. I think there's a lot more involved here. So I looked up this school. So this school is an underperforming school. It's a school that doesn't have a lot of resources. A high percentage of the teachers are certified, but these children are reading at the 50% grade level. What makes this school very different from many of the schools that I normally look into is that this school is made up of primarily Caucasian children. Maybe that's why we didn't see a picture flashed here or there. And so I'm wondering what happened here. I don't hold children accountable for what they do or don't do, or what they know or don't do. I hold their parents accountable. So I don't know what they've been exposed to in the household, what they've overheard. But they knew enough that they were going to hold this kid in school accountable. Now, I heard folks said, oh, I hope they get expelled. I hope they get this. I hope the parents of that boy got him transferred out already, that they never look back. No, he got to go. He got to leave this place right here and right now. Because these young girls are not operating all alone. This is something in the culture of this school. This is how they operate. This is how they move. This is what they do free time. They date, they go out with each other, and when there's a breakup or something happens, they plot on how they're going to do harm to the other child. Scary situation. Especially when you have bright children who are not engaged in a good curriculum, in creativity, when they are allowed to, because I know from data that the same way you have children who are underserved, who have challenges, you have those who are extremely bright, who also can become bored with curriculum and structure and get into these kinds of things. So I don't know if those children are going to be expelled or not, but if that were my son, and this happened when, last October, we were gone in October. We're not coming back. We're not coming back. That's a whole different area there. I'm done.
Thank you. Measure Me, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for the super chat. The social engineering in media, I keep saying this, people are more concerned about a viral moment than living. They look to these celebrities, etc., and these parents need to learn to parent. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the message. Emmanuel, I'm with you. Why are these fifth graders dating in the first place? I feel like, thank God they were straight stupid, because they were saying their plan out in the open and others heard, and that's probably what saved this boy's life. I'm of the mindset that that one that was laughing and grinning and not caring was the mastermind behind this whole thing, and coerced, since they love to use that word now, these others into going along with this plan. That one is sinister. They said
But
the other
we
one.
know about peer pressure. Didn't Gail King go get on some kind of spaceship, and she had to go up there with her 4 friends because she was feeling a certain way? The people told her, you need to go.
This one that was laughing was the one that was the mastermind and peer pressured them into it. But they're straight stupid, and thank God, because they was saying this plan out loud. And the other students heard and had the mindset to go and tell their parents, to God be the glory. You have got to be psychotic that in the 5th grade, you're thinking about a whole plan to take somebody's life. Now, I want to say this. I do believe they were dating. And even though they was 10 or 11, God only knows what else they was doing while they was dating. And the boy was done, and the girls got pissed. And he might have dated 2 in that circle. And that one was like, well, we're going to fix him. We're going to get him.
And then to make it look like it was going to be an S.
That is psychotic. And you talking about you going to see if you're going to expel them. If you don't expel them, guess what, though? My kid ain't going to be in that school no more.
And
Clip
Diva, I must remind you.
to the curb, and this needs to go on their record. I don't care, even if they get therapy, it needs to go on their record.
Diva, you did a story months ago where those children, that little girl went to spend the summer in her grandmother's house.
I remember.
And they got into a disagreement about that phone.
And
she told her mother, who was up here somewhere, that she tried to call, but the cousin wouldn't let her use the phone. And then the next thing you know, something happened, and the cousin took the sheets and took her cousin's life right there in the bed. That little girl was, I think, 7 or 8, and the cousin was about 11. Is that not the same age as the group of your children you're talking about right now? So on your show, we've been here already. We've been here already. Parents have to be more involved, pay attention. We talked about the things that are going on with these young people, especially with this technology. What they get exposed to long before they're able to manage it.
Wayne, your thoughts?
Yeah, pretty much what Felicia said. 10 years old, 11 years, I think these kids are redeemable, with some therapy, some deep therapy, whatever they have to do to get them back on track. But like Felicia says, this is what happens when you don't pay attention to your children and you don't give them your time. This stuff on the internet, they have access to everything. when we was coming up, of course, it wasn't these kind of devices, whatever. Okay, but you don't know what these kids been exposed to. However, if you have children and you know they have access to the internet, you need to be talking to them, getting to find out what's going on. My godmother used to tell me, she said, keep your kids talking. I raised 2 kids, single parent, by myself. And my kids talk to me. My daughter would talk my ear off, but I knew how to decipher out what I needed to hear and what I didn't need to hear. But this is what happens when you don't give them your time and they grow up like that. They're going to get the time from somebody else. They're going to get the attention from somebody else. Some kids can make it through. Some of them get absorbed with this. I'm done.
Whew. This thing is brutal. I'm gonna say connected to this story. I'm in shock. But the most shocking part to me is the girl that was just laughing and thought it was a kiki and a ha ha. They need to be in a detention center somewhere. Point blank in a period. Let me roll into this last story. And this last story is a baseball player who was messing with a 14-year-old. Paid off the mother. He went to trial in the Dominican Republic, and 3 judges slapped him on the wrist, found him guilty, but said you could go ahead and go free. And they trying to see if he could get a work visa to go back out to the States and play baseball. But meantime, her mother got 10 years. These stories, you can't make it. When it comes to the law, you can't make it make sense. It's literally unbelievable. Let's take a listen.
We begin with breaking news at 5:30. A panel of judges in the Dominican Republic just found Tampa Bay Rays shortstop Wander Franco guilty of sexual abuse of a minor. As a result, they gave him a 2-year suspended sentence, meaning if he fails to meet the conditions set by the judge, he will have to serve prison time. Those conditions are not to interact with any minors with sexual intentions. We have reached out to the Rays to hear if they have any comment at all. The question now becomes whether Franco will even be able to receive a work visa to return to the U.S. to play for any Major League Baseball team. We'll let you know just as soon as we hear back. And as we
Okay, let me just share screen again. So Wander Franco found guilty of SA, a minor. Wander Franco was found guilty of SA of a minor in his native Dominican Republic. However, the Rays shortstop dodged jail time despite pleas from prosecutors to put him behind bars. Franco was sentenced to a 2-year suspended prison sentence by the 3 judges presiding over the case in Puerto Plata Collegiate Court. The conviction was unanimous among the 3 judges and comes with conditions that need to be met. The biggest being sternly told to Franco by Judge Jacara Garcia, do not approach minors for X purposes. If you don't like people very close to your age, you have to wait your time, she said to him, the Associated Press reported. The once touted MLB player was arrested last year after he was accused of having a months-long relationship with an underage girl when she was just 14, and then of paying off the victim's mother in order for her to consent to the relationship. Franco was 21 at the time of the illegal relationship with the female victim. The trial originally had been slated to start in December before it was pushed until this month. The victim's mother also was convicted Thursday of S trafficking. So they threw the book at the mother. S trafficking her daughter and was given a 10-year prison sentence, along with having all access acquired through the course of Franco's crime seized. ESPN's Juan Arturo reported. The judge orally revealed the evidence prosecutors had presented during the trial, calling it somewhat complex process. The court has understood that this minor was manipulated, she said. Franco was described as looking expressionless as the proceedings continued, the AP reported. The Dominican prosecutors had called for Franco to receive 5 years in prison. And earlier this month, they said they had convincing evidence the Rays player had committed the crime. The accusations against Franco first surfaced online and posts on social media in August 2023 and had kept him away from the game of baseball since. He maintained his innocence since then, and in speaking in front of the court Monday, he told the 3 judges, "We expect justice." Franco has been on MLB's restricted list since charges were filed in July 2024. And while the decisions by the judges can be appealed, any future in baseball seems slim due to the difficulty he would face trying to receive a work visa in the United States with a conviction. MLB still is conducting an investigation into Franco, and he could face further discipline under the league's domestic violence SA and child abuse policy. We are aware of today's verdict on the Franco trial and will conclude our investigation at the appropriate time, the league said in a statement. You want some real S trafficking? Well, there it is. Julius, your thoughts?
Now that's trafficking. But see, he should have been held behind. He should have been held behind bars too. He shouldn't be able to see the time of day. The mama is wrong. She is where she need to be. But he's wrong too. And I hope and pray he's not I hope and pray he is not granted a work visa to come back here and work. It needs to be access denied. Not even the nickname Peg from Batman and Robin can get you in. You can stay over there with your little nasty self and whatever else, but you can't come back over here. You need to be behind bars over there in the DR.
Thank you. Katrina, your thoughts?
Okay, here we go. My thoughts are, as you said earlier about R. Kelly, everybody knew what type of person R. Kelly was. They brought their daughters to him. Aaliyah's mother knew he married her. Her uncle brought Aaliyah to R. Kelly because he knew what type of man R. Kelly was. So when R. Kelly did that stuff with Aaliyah, he was getting money for it. And so was the mom. So I feel like you said, they should be in prison too, along with R. Kelly, Sparkle, all of them. That was her niece that was on that tape. And you knew what type of person R. Kelly was. Why would you leave your niece there? This is ridiculous. This man go free because he's in another country and the mom is in prison. Yeah, I think she should be in prison or what's up, because basically, girl, you just pimped out your child. Even though you didn't, I'm like, I don't know if she knew before then, but you did know. And you should have said, no, I don't want this money. I'm not going to keep my mouth closed. You violated my child and I want justice done. But she was looking for the money as well. So basically, she put the value of the money over her child. She didn't care what her child's going through. She didn't care if her child's going to have to deal with trauma later. And like I said, a 14-year-old cannot make up her mind to be with a 26, 27-year-old. Her brain is not even fully formed yet. But yeah, the mom need to be gone, and so do a lot of other people need to be gone as well, because it's a trend. If you got money, you can pay buy these folks off and all this type of stuff. And if you're gonna do it to one, you need to do it to all, or you need to just let all of them go free, or put all of them, lock all of them up. But why can this person get away with so much and this person can't? Is it the money value thing? Because it's not making any sense to me. This is totally ridiculous and just pathetic, and it's just totally disgusting. So if one can be let loose, then y'all need to let all of them loose, or you need to lock all of them up, because this is just injustice. and the mamas and the parents and the brothers, uncles, and sisters too. That's all I got.
Thank you. Tay, your thoughts?
The mama should be ashamed of herself. You trade your daughter for some money because why you didn't get no job something? That's your daughter. That's your pride and your joy right there. God gave you that baby right there, and then you just let her get to a grown man right there. Have you lost your mind, Mom? I say you deserve to go to jail too. And that dude who walked away from the court, he should be in jail and locked up forever too. Because shame on both of them. You don't mess well. This 20-year-old guy, he should not mess with a minor right there. He should date somebody his own age. Right there. And no, you ain't not gonna come play basketball after what you did. No, you should stay in jail forever. That's all, Diva.
Thank you, Tay. Felicia, your thoughts?
Listen, I think the important part of this story is Major League Baseball. So he has value to Major League Baseball. That's why he's not in the jail. That's why he's not doing hard labor. That's why he's being considered. His paperwork is being reviewed. Interesting, though, I may have not picked it up, Diva. Where is this young girl at right now?
Well, I don't know, but I have no idea.
So we don't know who's providing for her.
Well, it happened, if the rumors first came around in 2023, she was 14. So you figure it's 20, well, still she's young, 15, 16 at best, right? Because she's locked up now, and they seize all of everything he gave them. They seized it.
Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, he still has people fighting for his opportunity because of the Major League Baseball. So he didn't exhibit the talent, and now, of course, they can get him for next to nothing, right?
Yeah.
Because he desperately wants to come to the United States, and he desperately wants to be able to play baseball. That's why they got him there boo-hooing and crying, all that kind of stuff. I think historically, he probably will be able to come here to play. And 20 years from now, there will be a whole long laundry list of people he has victimized. And people will be in an outrage. Charge him, throw him under the jail. Versus getting to the problem right now. He would be over there boo-hooing in a jail cell. And when you get out, if you got any talent left, you can donate your time to some community service with old grown people, sir. And that would be that. I ain't got no empathy. I'm done.
Whew. Thank you, guys. I appreciate y'all. Y'all know the routine. If you didn't hit that like button on the way in, hit it on the way out. We're going to hear the closing arguments tomorrow in this Diddy case. But the prosecution said he's a crime boss. And they said you need very little information and evidence to convict him of the S trafficking. Really? If that's the case, everybody in this world, a whole bunch of men, will be locked up for some S trafficking. If the criteria is as simple as they're trying to make it. But we'll see what the defense is going to do. The fifth graders, I'm deplorable. I'm in shock. And this Wanda Franco, it don't matter because they said you're not going to get a visa because you're a convicted criminal. And then the league claims they have morality clauses that they have to look into. So he's done. Stupid.
Well, if he got $5 million, Trump will give him a pardon or give him a visa.
Just stupid. Stop touching the kids. And his mother, shame on you. You took money. If this was another grown man that wasn't a sports player that touched your kid, would you have said something? I'm starting to think she probably wouldn't have. And I wonder if she got more kids. So now, because you want to drive, and I don't know what kind of car she had or where she was in, whatever, but because you wanted some shiny things, now you spending a whole decade behind bars. Big dummy.
And the man that violated your daughter is walking free.
Ain't that some mess? And now your daughter don't have a mother. But if you want to talk technically, she ain't have one anyway because you sold her to somebody. Listen, guys, I appreciate y'all. Hit that like button, and I'll see you on the next video. Good night. Goodbye, everybody. Choo choo.